Okay, we're going to get started. If folks could join behind the mic.
That makes a lot of sense. Or Dr. Doyle. I love her. She's amazing. Like, that was all that was in the email. Like, I
Check. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We're out here today to defend the voting rights of specifically Black and Native nations and communities in the U.S. who are being repressed, whose voting rights specifically are being repressed. I'm going to read a little bit from this statement just because I don't want to miss anything. On April 29th, the U.S. Supreme Court gave state legislators a green light to break up Black and Native voting districts, an attack on Black self-determination, Native sovereignty, and basic democratic rights. The 6-3 ruling in Louisiana versus Callais gutted what remained of Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. It struck down Louisiana's second majority Black congressional district and opened the door for similar attacks across the country. Lawmakers can now break up Black and Native voting districts and claim that it was not racism, but to give Republicans more seats, as if that's not all very similar. The decision landed while public attention was fixed on the U.S. war on Iran, soaring gas prices, and preparations for May Day, International Workers' Day. That timing mattered. War and crisis pushed one of the most sweeping attacks on basic democratic rights since the end of the Reconstruction out of the center of public attention. Coming on the eve of May Day, the ruling showed the class character of the attack. It struck at Black political representation, Native sovereignty, and the right of oppressed peoples to determine their own political future, while the workers' movement was preparing to march against war, austerity, and racism. To speak more about it, we have a couple speakers. First, I'd like to introduce a representative of Talson University's NAACP. Come on up.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Christian Ricks from the Talson University chapter, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, and I am honored to serve as Talson University's first ever Mr. NAACP, a role dedicated to connecting our chapter with the communities around us and uplifting the voices that too often go unheard. Today, we are witnessing a dangerous step backward. On April 29th, the Supreme Court's decision in Louisiana versus Callais weakened protections under the Voting Rights Act and opened the door for states to dismantle majority Black voting districts. This is not just politics. This is an attack on Black self-determination, Native sovereignty, and the power of our communities to be represented fairly. We have seen tactics like this before. During the era of redlining, Black communities were intentionally segregated and denied investment, opportunity, and political influence simply because of the color of our skin. Today, gerrymandering attempts to achieve a similar outcome by redrawing voting maps to divide and weaken Black voices and dilute our political power. Different strategy with the same goal: silence us. But history reminds us that progress has never come from the silence or complacency. The right to vote was not handed to us, it was fought for through protest, organizing, and collective struggle. Our ancestors marched, resisted, and sacrificed so future generations could have a voice in shaping this country. Now it is our responsibility to protect that voice. We must organize, educate, mobilize, and show up in every election. We must challenge systems designed to push our communities out of the conversation. Because when they try to erase our power, we respond by building an even stronger movement. Mass struggle won us the right to vote, and mass struggle will defend it. Thank you for your time.
When voting rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When voting rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When voting rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When voting rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Thank you. I'm going to introduce our next speaker, Benedict from the CCBC Fashion Club.
What up, Baltimore? I'm Benedict Crabbe III. I'm here to talk about what's happening recently around in Louisiana. So I'm mostly going to talk from the dome, so I didn't have nothing prepped. But basically on the paper right here, it said that the 1965 Voting Rights Act was run through mass struggle. Black movements through across the South, joined by supporters across the country, marched and organized, built local movements under the threat of jail, beatings, and murder. But black people forced the ruling class to concede basic democratic rights, the right to vote, to represent, to assert their right to self-determination. And today, the Supreme Court has turned the ruling class attacking on rights into law, and the Louisiana ruling works on the new state NAACP. We already been warned before about Project 25 over and over again for the past 2 years and a year prior. This already been part of their plan about attacking people of color, specifically the black community and their community. And as people from Talson over here said, our ancestors, our friends and sisters, our skinfolk, our kinfolk, they fought for our rights today. And the government, the state government, and the federal government, they're still trying to attack us and other people. But I think that's not gonna work, because each decade, each year, each century, we always becoming smarter. We're still trying to fight back against what we're trying to do. And we know eventually it's not gonna be Louisiana, it's gonna be in Washington and Virginia and other states in America. They're still going to talk our voting rights. Because why? Because we know what's right. We know that some people didn't vote. We know that we, despite our voting, they're still going to vote someone who's either fascist or authoritative and ain't kind of think. And that's what they mostly want to do. They want the system to work for them. They don't want the system to work for the people, who mostly what the amendments is mostly for our rights. But that's what we're here for, to mostly fight against this discrimination against black community and Native American and any other type of community that will be affected by the voters' rights. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker, Andre Powell from the People's Power Assembly.
Good evening, sisters, brothers, and siblings. As we gather here today to denounce the recent Supreme Court decision of Louisiana versus Callais, we know and we understand so very well that it is not simply about voting rights for the black community. What they are trying to do is redraw as many districts as they can around the country to give the right-wing politicians a stronger majority. Right now, the majority is almost neck and neck. It's only by a few. But they want to manipulate the districts in order to get right-wing Republican representation in Congress. They want to get so many so that it will be nearly impossible to have congressional people that are not right-wing to have enough congressional votes that can stop whatever they want to do. We are here today to say, hell no, you will not turn back the clock on civil rights. You will not turn back the clock on people's rights. You will not turn back the clock on women's rights. And you will not push the rights of the LGBTQ community further underground. What happens if they get a tremendous right-wing majority in Congress, what they're able to do then is to chip away a little bit here, chip away a little bit there, piece by piece, the many progressive things that we have won over the past 5 decades. Will they try to wipe out Title IX? Will they try to wipe out Title VII? Will they try to wipe out the anti-discrimination clause that's in the Constitution that says no discrimination based on race, sex, religion, national origin, political affiliation? If they're able to wipe that out, it would take decades and decades to build up a movement to regain those progressive gains that we've gotten over the past 50 years. That is what they aim to do, to change it so that it will take hundreds of years to overturn it. But we have an answer for them. And that answer is we struggle not only in the voting booth, but we go back to what they did when I was a little child in elementary school. That we walk across the Edmund Pettus Bridge of today. In every city there's an Edmund Pettus Bridge somewhere that we will walk across, and we will march, and we will continue marching, and we will build a movement that fights back against this reactionary attempts to push us back into the dustbins of history. We're not going back into slavery. We're not going to go back into Jim Crow. We're not going to go back into Jane Crow. We're not going to go back into segregation. As the former governor of Alabama said, segregation today, segregation now, segregation forever. Well, George Wallace is dead and gone. Thank goodness. We're not going back to those days. We're not allowing them to set up mechanisms to chip away and chip away and chip away at the rights that we have won, that we have used over the decades to promote the human dignity for all people. We're going to fight back as they continue to attack the immigrant population. Immigrants have come here to look for a better life, just like all those Europeans did back in the 1800s that came to this country. And now they want to say, oh, we don't want immigrants. Well, excuse me, go back on your ancestry. If you got to go to Ancestry.com and see where your ancestors came from. The only people that were here were the Native American indigenous peoples of the U.S. So we stand and we show our righteous outrage against this decision of the Supreme Court, a court that is packed with right-wing bigoted justices by Donald Trump. We vow to continue with a people's movement to push back. When they say get back, we say fight back. When they say get back, we say fight back. Thank you.
When voting rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When voting rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When black rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When black rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When people's rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When people's rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Before we close out, I'm going to have one more speaker come on, Carrington from the Struggle for Socialism Party.
Good evening, brothers, sisters, and siblings. My name is Carrington. I just want to say a few words. With this most recent attack on voting rights and the destruction of black and native political power in one stroke of a pen, it reminds me a lot of the Malcolm quote with the ballot or the bullet. And I think that's really symbolic because, when what the civil rights movement was, it wasn't just marching for the right to vote, the right to just put a piece of paper in a box, the right to pull a lever. It was marching for power, for dignity, for respect as people, as equals. It was marching for self-determination, for a realization that your life matters and that your life can affect, should be prioritized. Lives of people, workers, should be prioritized in the systems and the places that they live in. And that's what these marches were for. It wasn't just for the simple movement of voting, what it takes to vote. And going back to the Malcolm quote of the ballot or the bullet symbolizes struggle, and not just in what bullets are used in struggle, but also industrialization. It takes workers, it takes factories, it takes labor to build this. Your voice through the ballot, but your body and your labor through the bullet. And those are the things that we must protect, to protect our rights. We use our voices when we use our bodies. When our voices aren't heard, we must use our bodies. We must deny our labor to places that don't respect us, that don't treat us as human beings. We must deny our spending power. We must, not give money to places that don't respect us as human beings. Think of the Target boycott of today and of refusing labor. We can look at Minneapolis. We can look at many different general strikes historically and other struggles today. Any picket line held by a union is that symbolization of the bullet, the struggle through labor. And it's with this attack on black and brown people, on Native and black communities today, or with the Supreme Court decision, it's just an ever reminder that our enemies are always working in this fight. This fight is continuous. This fight started for black people here in the 1600s, you could argue the 1500s. Over 400 years, our people have been in this fight for recognition, for determination, to be treated as human beings. And every day since we've been brought here, shipped on those ships to where we are, they've been trying to do nothing but cull us, silence us, kill us. Where these populations are going to be affected with this voting rights decision is in the South. Right where we got off the ships. The most data centers that are destroying black populations are in the South, forcing migration across this country as other areas are now being affected by this overall voting problem, this voting issue. So it goes to show that our enemies are always working. This fight on black bodies specifically is a continuous fight because this system is designed against us. And it is through the ballot and the bullet, our voices and our bodies, that we will defend what we have and push for more. Thank you, and that's it.
Say one quick thing before we wrap up, in case anybody thinks that this Supreme Court decision won't affect anything. Number one, there's usually a 30-day waiting period after a Supreme Court decision before laws begin to be implemented. This decision was pushed through immediately. Racist Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry has already used it to suspend a primary that was already happening. And it's no coincidence that one of the candidates for the primary was a left-wing candidate who was surging in popularity. Again, it is no coincidence. So this idea that the reactionaries on the Supreme Court argue is that, well, this is a colorblind voting map. Well, that's the problem. For a society that does not recognize that it is still fundamentally a segregated society, almost an apartheid society still, requires a colorblind map, is a recognition that the right wing wants to keep things the way they are. Not just the right wing, but the entire ruling class. They want to keep things the way they are. They don't want any lever of potential change for oppressed communities. So it's already happening. We will continue to fight back, and we'll see you in the streets. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Thanks very much.